Hello my intelligent friends, welcome back to Tea and Lit. In today's video we're going to be doing a vlog, a reading vlog, and a review for this month's book, which is Beowulf. Before we get into it, I do want to address my jars that you can probably see everywhere. I am a want-to-be home canner, and I've home canned some things, just a couple of things, and jars can get expensive. There was also a jar shortage earlier this year, and I found jars on Craigslist that were too good to pass up. So I have jars covering my room because I actually don't have anywhere to store them right now. And since there's no food in them, I don't really mind having them stored everywhere. So I've got jars under my bed, under my chair, on my desk, everywhere in my bookshelf that there's extra space, there are jars. So we'll just address that now, and I'd like to apologize for it. I don't foresee them leaving anytime in the next couple of weeks. So if we maintain this filming angle for a little while, these will probably be here for a little while longer. At some point we will build a shelf and put them downstairs. But back to the point, we are reading Beowulf. Then at the end of this video we will do a review. I don't have my little flags, which is unfortunate. I have to go to the store and get more. But we're not doing that tonight. Tonight, we got our highlighters, and that will have to be enough. So, grab yourselves your book, grab yourself a cup of tea. I'm drinking an iced raspberry and citrus, and it tastes like summer. And let's get into Beowulf. Okay guys, so far so good, but one thing that I want to share really quickly. We talked about in a previous video earlier this week, I did like top 8 epics, epic poetry to check out if it's a genre you're wanting to get into, and they make everything grand and big, and I just want to share with you this little paragraph of a sentry going to meet with Beowulf, who has just arrived on the shores of Daneland like a boss, unloading all of his stuff and like not bothering to ask for safe passage. So that's the context. I'm working line 285. Undaunted, sitting astride his horse, the coast guard answered, "Anyone with gumption and a sharp mind will take the measure of 2 things. What's said and what's done. I believe what you have told me, that you are a troop loyal to our king. So come ahead with your arms and your gear, and I will guide you. What's more, I'll order my own comrades on their word of honor to watch your boat down there on the strand. Keep her safe in her fresh tar until the time comes for her curved brow to preen on the waves and bear this hero back to Geatland. May one so valiant and venturesome come unharmed through the clash of battle." Just the language is so grandiose, and I love it. So far, just one thing that I've noticed, I don't remember this having so many like religious tones, but it really, really does. Line 170. "There were hard times, heartbreaking, for the prince of the Shieldings, powerful counselors, the highest in the land, would lend advice, plotting how best to bold defenders might resist and beat off sudden attacks. Sometimes at pagan shrines they vowed offerings to idols, swore oaths that the killer of souls might come to their aid and save the people. That was their way, their heathenish hope. Deep in their hearts they remembered hell. The almighty judge of good deeds and bad, the Lord God, head of heavens and high king of the world, was unknown to them. Oh, cursed is he who in time of trouble has to thrust his soul in the fire's embrace, forfeiting help. He has nowhere to turn, but blessed is he who after death can approach the Lord and find friendship in the Father's embrace." When I read this before, I did not remember so many religious tones to it, but now I can see why I liked it, even back then, before I was religious. I definitely am somebody who was not raised in like a religious household. Keith is agnostic. neither of our parents are churchgoers, and I feel the need to always explain that because people just assume because I'm super devoted to my faith that I was raised in it, and that's not the case. But I think it's funny that, like, clearly I was attracted to this book, and I don't remember it having so many religious tones. So that was interesting. Anywho, let's continue. One of the cool things that I'm reading in this book is that they are sharing kind of war stories or like tales of when they were youngins and all of the cool stuff that they did when they were little. And I am sort of obsessed with the show Vikings. I have been from the very beginning. I'm so sad to see it come to a close. But there was something like that with them too, where it was like these legendary figures who, you know, you share their stories, and I just think it's so much fun to read because they get together and they are sharing meat and mead in the hall, and they're like, oh, is this Beowulf, the one who swam out into the ocean in a competition? And they have all of these stories of these characters, and it's a really cool way to do character development, I think, to hear, you know, what their peers think of them, the people who are not necessarily with them all the time, but have heard from across the ocean what they're like. And then also to get into like those like tough guy competitions over, you know, who's got the cooler story from their youth. It's a really cool way to do character development. Here's Beowulf professing his plans. I had a fixed purpose when I put out to sea. As I sat in the boat with my band of men, I meant to perform to the uttermost what your people wanted, or perish in the attempt, in the fiend's clutches. And I shall fulfill that purpose, prove myself with a proud deed, or meet my death in the mead hall. Sounds so epic. You know those like epic battle, what are they called, monologues? I don't know, when people are heading into battle and they have to rouse the troops. It happened in Game of Thrones several times. It happened in that one Scottish movie, They'll Never Take Our Freedom. This one's good. And I can just imagine it with someone with a far deeper voice than mine. And a Stein? When it comes to fighting, I count myself as dangerous any day as Grendel. So it won't be a cutting edge I'll wield to mow him down, easily as I might. He has no idea of the arts of war, of shield or swordplay, although he does possess a wild strength. No weapons, therefore, for either this night. Unarmed, he shall face me, if face me he dares. And may the divine Lord in his wisdom grant the glory of victory to whichever side he sees fit. I think I'm going to have Keith read that because Keith has a good deep voice that's fit for battle cries. I do not. Clearly. Also, I would be terrible in war. In case you were wondering. We played chess and Keith said, no one should ever follow you into battle. I'm just announcing that for you guys now. Don't ever follow me into battle, okay? I am no Beowulf. I'm cold. One of the things that I'm finding super interesting is that they are using biblical references. So the two monsters are supposed to be like the cohorts of Cain from the biblical story of Cain and Abel. We see here Grendel's mother, monstrous Hellbride, brooded on her wrongs. She had been forced down into fearful waters, the cold depths, after Cain had killed his father's son, felled his own brother with a sword. Branded an outlaw, marked by having murdered, he moved into the wilds, shunned company and joy. And from Cain there sprang misbegotten spirits, among them Grendel. I didn't read that well. Let's try again. And from Cain there sprang misbegotten spirits, among them Grendel, the banished and accursed, due to come to grips with what watcher inherit waiting to do battle. I just find it interesting that they are referring to Grendel and his mother as like the cohorts of Cain and how they were doomed as hell spirits and Hellbride because they were associated with Cain. I think it's cool to see how cultures kind of mesh together like this. So this is an Anglo-Saxon story. The Anglo-Saxons were kind of the bridge, I would say, between like the old pagan views of the Germanic people and mostly the Germanic people. I want to say also the people of Great Britain, but that's not the case. The Celts were there at the time, and I don't think that the Anglo-Saxons were the Celts' like successors. But between the Germanic people and Christians, so to see how these two religious views collide in this story is really fun. I'm sorry, Beowulf is going to wear chainmail in an underwater fight with a monster? Wouldn't you sink? I think sometimes we all need to be, you know, brought down and humbled, and I absolutely love this little monologue that it seems Hrothgar is giving to Beowulf as a reminder of the reality that everything comes to an end. He shared the story of a not-so-great king, and then he ends with this. O flower of warriors, beware of that trap. Choose, dear Beowulf, the better part, eternal rewards. Do not give way to pride. For a brief while your strength is in bloom, but it fades quickly, and soon there will follow illness, or the sword to lay you low, or sudden fire or surge of water, or jabbing blade or javelin from the air or repellent age. Your piercing eye will dim and darken, and death will arrive, dear warrior, to sweep you away. I think when we're young, we kind of think we're invincible, and sometimes we need somebody who's a little bit older and a little bit wiser to remind us that that's not the case. One of the things I'm finding interesting is that they're putting a lot of emphasis on the fact that Beowulf is killing beings with his bare hands and not necessarily with the sword. I'm gonna have to spend some time thinking about that and what the implications are. I love how this is unfolding. Let me just read this to you. Under grey stone his voice challenged and resounded clearly. Hate was ignited. The horde guard recognized a human voice. The time was over for peace and parleying. Pouring forth in a hot battle fume, the breath of the monster burst from the rock. There was a rumble underground. Down there in the barrow, Beowulf the warrior lifted his shield. The outlandish thing writhed and convulsed and viciously turned on the king, whose keen-edged sword, an heirloom inherited by ancient right, was already in his hand. Roused to a fury, each antagonist struck terror in the other. Unyielding, the lord of his people loomed by his tall shield, sure of his ground, while the serpent looped and unleashed itself. Swaddled in flames, it came gliding and flexing and racing towards its fate. Yet his shield defended the renowned leader's life and limb for a shorter time than he meant it to. That final day was the first time when Beowulf fought, and fate denied him glory in battle. All done. All right. I am going to take a few minutes, refill my glass, gather my thoughts, and then we'll do a review. I'm still playing my music. Let's try that again. Okay, we're all finished with the book. Okay, hopefully you heard me what I just said. I'm going to refill my glass, gather my thoughts, and then we'll do a proper review. My face is so shiny. All right, people. I know I always said I was going to fill my glass with iced tea. I opted for cookie dough ice cream instead because I'm a degenerate who eats cookie dough ice cream at 9:45 on a Thursday night while filming videos. Main characters. Beowulf. It's his book. His story. His poem. His epic. He's a great warrior of the Geats from Geatland, and he is just a boss dude. Just a good guy, a strong guy, really strong. Like, so strong that he has a difficult time using swords because his hands are too strong that they always break. So he's better off killing monsters with his bare hands. Speaking of monsters, there are 3 major monsters. The first one is Grendel, who's like this weird demon guy. And if you've watched all the way through the vlog, then you'll know that he is like a cohort of Canaan, which I thought was so, or Cain, which I thought was so interesting to read how this story intersected Christian religion and Germanic history and just all sorts of Germanic folklore. It's not history, Germanic folklore. And I just thought it was really cool. The other monster is Grendel's mother, who is not a happy lady. And then the last one is a dragon. And let me tell you something. Any story worth telling has dragons. There's also Hrothgar, who is the king of this really cool place that Grendel is terrorizing. And Grendel is killing... My thing's making movements. Grendel is killing and terrorizing the people, and he's eating Hrothgar's like friends and family, and Hrothgar's not very happy about that, and Beowulf comes to Hrothgar's aid to take care of his Grendel problem. They separate from each other, but they promise to be best friends forever. The last person I want to talk about is Wiglaf. He comes in at the end, and he serves as like a spiritual successor to Beowulf, who never has any sons. And the story is basically broken down into 3 pieces. The first third-ish is about Grendel and Grendel's ravaging of Hrothgar's mead hall and Beowulf coming to his rescue. The second part is his exploits trying to take care of Grendel's mother, who isn't very happy. And then after that, Beowulf goes home, back to Geatland, and after a series of events, he becomes king. And in his old age, he has to fight a dragon. The thing I love most about this story was how it intersected Christian religion and Germanic folklore and culture, like old culture. They didn't do funeral pyres once they became Christians, but they still had funeral pyres in Beowulf. And so I think it's really fun to see how these two things came together. What probably happened is that this was a story that was put down long before Christianity got to the European continent, and then Christians went in, Catholics specifically, I'm not gonna say it wrong, went in and wanted to alter this story a little bit to be mindful of the original, but also to make sure that God was a central figure. And I've talked about how like a lot of stuff has done that, where like the Catholics came in and wanted to honor the original culture and just make minor alterations to show God's presence. Okay, sorry for the new angle. Our battery went kaput, so now it's plugged in. And hopefully we can continue, but now we're very close and intimate. I hope you don't mind. The combining of cultures. Fascinating thing. Here's the thing. In history, religion was like the primary function of like people's everyday life. People really were very serious about honoring their gods. And like it's part of their culture, deeply ingrained in their culture. Their culture is their religion. Their religion is their culture. And so if you're going to try and convert people spiritually, you really need to like be mindful of that OG culture, you know? So anyway, I feel like this book feels like that. Like this was a real Anglo-Saxon Germanic story of the Scandinavians, and when it was pushed through generations of Christians, it kind of changed a little bit. That's what I feel. It would have been interesting to see what the original was, but I'd assume that doesn't exist anymore. Otherwise, we would have translated that one. Anything else I want to say about this? I don't think so. Let's get into our rating system. If I can find it, because I never remember them. Quality of writing, I'd give a 5. The cover, obviously a 5. Story development, a 5. Character development, a 5. Pacing, a 5. Just really love this story. By the way, the book is not long. I just powered through this in a couple of hours, sitting here with you. I have so many damn notes. It's 10 o'clock. We still have to edit this. We got 12 hours to get this bad boy up. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Quality of writing, I'm giving a 5. I think Seamus Heaney did a spectacular job. Obviously, like I said, I don't know what the original was like. I mean, it's got the Old English in there, but I can't read Old English. It's like totally different than modern English too, by the way. I think I'm gonna give it a 3 for the ease of reading. It's a lot of characters. Not all of them are super important, but there are a lot of them. And some of them sound really similar, like Rothgar, Lane, and they've got silent H's. So purely based on the names, it was hard for me. And like the whole like lineage thing. Seamus Heaney did a really good job. And stories are told like this, where when you're introduced to a new character, you hear about like what their father did and like what their history is like a great warrior. But sometimes that's like hard to follow if you're not paying attention. Something's going on with this phone, and hopefully we can just power through this and get through it. Pace, I'm gonna give it a 5 because like I said, it's action-packed. There's 3 monsters and 3 acts of the book. It's really powering through. The plot, I would give a 5. It all makes sense. Nothing kind of wonky happens. I don't think there were any like plot holes that would be distracting and undesirable, recognizing that this is like a folklore story. Characters, as I said, I would give a 5 to the characters. I'm absolutely in love with Beowulf. The only thing is, it's not like the women play a huge like role in this. So if that's something that bothers you, this is not like a female-centered story. There are women in it and they are presented well, but they don't play like a role. Atmosphere is described beautifully, but I would want no part of it. I'm still gonna give it a 5 because, again, it's not something I want to be a part of, but it's described really well. Enjoyability, a 5. I absolutely love the story. Insightfulness. What's this story insightful? I don't know. I don't know if this story was insightful. I mean, I think it's a fun read. And I think it does a lot of good with trying to tell you to like be a good person, which sounds super like basic, but by that I mean like be true to yourself, but also like honor your word. Be strong in your disposition. So yeah, I'm gonna say it was insightful. Let's call it a 4 since I had to think about it. Logic, again, I'm gonna say a 5. There was nothing super wonky about it, but it's also folklore, so you have to like give that what it is. And then the cover, how could you not love this cover? It's shiny even. I mean, come on. So that's definitely a 5. All in all, I think I would give this story like a 5. It would be rounded up to a 5, I think. I hope you guys read it. I hope you guys enjoy it. Next week we will be doing a discussion on it, and hopefully this doesn't take me too long to edit because I could go to sleep. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you guys think of reading vlogs like this, and we'll see if we can do them again in the future. I'll catch you next time. Bye.